Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and you are watching me play Factorio. I went ahead and got this all set up and ready to go. I brought in the fluid setup from the creative world and got that all hooked up correctly, I believe. Are these all hooked up correctly? I think they are. Yeah, that's all looking good. And this is all pretty much primed and ready to go. I got the copper, all the stuff here. It's up here, ready to go. I originally thought, would it be cool to make this all a big sushi belt as well? And we may look at that. But for right now, I just kind of want to get things up and going just to make sure they are going to work. And we're, of course, reading the items that are coming off, and that is feeding into this red wire that goes all the way up here to where the barreling facility is. That I read it a little bit, made it a little bit more compact, and reworked these lines, the pipes coming in, so they're a little bit nicer, just a little bit as nice as pipes, as nice as Kitch can get pipes. Put it that way. This is an A+. So yeah, I think this is a lot better. I don't know, it looks a little bit better. It's more compact, a little less footprint, and I think it will work just fine. So we've got all of our connections up here. We've got all of our infrastructure. It's just a matter of wiring the thing up and pressing start. So we will do that right after we roll the intro. All right, so we can take this from the front back or from the back to the front. I think I'm going to move from the back to the front. We'll start here with this line right here. That is going to be our empty barrel return. Now, originally, I was thinking of setting up some kind of circuit network. And in Practical Factorio, what I did was I set this up to make like 1,000 barrels, right? And based just on a counter. And it would sit there and it would create barrels until there were 1,000 of them out on the system, and then it would stop. And that's kind of what I was thinking, because we need empty barrels, but, empty barrels are, they're not like other items that get consumed or compressed into other things. An empty barrel turns into a petroleum barrel, which turns back into an empty barrel. So once you create a barrel, it's in the system forever, right? So you only need like a set constant amount of them. And my thought was that the barrels we need are how many ever we want on this line, and then how many ever we want in our sushi setup, because if we have more than one. And I think we would want that number times 2, because we want the empty barrels, everything that are going to be made out here, and plus all the barrels that are stocked and ready to go in here. So we'd want to double that number. But we'd only want a single number for those in here. And I think that would give us roughly a good amount of the barrels that we needed. But it was a more low-tech solution was suggested. And I think I'm going to give that one a shot, just because I'm kind of mathed out at this point. But the idea being that we kind of set this machine up right here to just go ahead and create empty barrels. And eventually what would happen is we would produce so many empty barrels that this line would back up to right here. And that's as many barrels as it would ever make. So as soon as the line got back up to here, it kind of creates like a natural buffer over time. You know what I mean? And so as this line starts to back up, this guy's not going to make any more. But if we're getting a situation where the buffer died, it would make some more to go ahead and fill the gaps. I think we should be fine if we do that. The only problem I can see with this is that we don't have a guarantee on which side of the belt an empty barrel is going to come on, because they export out on several lines, and there's a lot of mixing going on. So we would need to do something like this. No. Because we don't want any to be on the inside. We want to force them all on the outside. And actually, we could even do like this, like somebody suggested several episodes ago, and that way we prevent if it backs up, it prevents that one line from backing up. That means everything's going to go on this side, and there's nothing going to be stuck in there ever. Or actually, we could do an even lower tech solution and just do that right there. And that would guarantee to work all the time without wasting a splitter. Yeah, I like that. So that'll make sure everything stays on the inside and allow this machine to back up. Okay, so if I let this go, it's going to start creating things. We don't want it to do that. All right, so that takes care of the empty barrels plus the empty barrel supply. And the second thing is we got a little bit of space between right here and these chests. Now, I went ahead and... No, I did not. Let's go ahead and set these to... Go ahead and request like 2,000 of each item. Just so if we happen to get any strays anywhere, they will make their way back into the system. And finally, a lubricant. All right, but we don't want to store like 2,000 of items in there. So what we can do is let's go ahead and hook all those chests up. And let's take them out and hook them to these inserters. And let's not pull stuff out until we have like a sizable buffer in there. Let's say maybe like 100. Enable disable, yes. Water, less than 100. Light oil, less than 100. And lubricant, less than 100. So that way there'll be a little bit of a buffer in these chests, and these lines will be clear. This will actually end up a little bit over whatever that number that we set is, because whenever it hits 100, there may be another item on the line here. So it may be plus or minus 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever like that. But that should go ahead and keep this line clear, not overproducing, not backing up. Not that it really matters, but I'm a control freak. Okay, and that will fill those, and... then we need a count to control these inserters because we only want to send stuff out whenever we actually need stuff requested from down there. And I did that in the creative world by setting a buffer, but I got to thinking, you know what? We have a number right here in this constant combinator of things that we want. We don't have a good line to send that out, but if we did send this out, we could base all of our count that we want here based on that number. And if we had multiple factories, we just hook that in and it automatically just adjusts for it. So I think I want to do that. We're going to have to do another power pole because we're going to need another, I guess, a green wire that is getting that signal and taking it out here. And we don't want to mix that with the other green network. Yeah, that's actually all our raw materials. So if we do want to do a sushi bus someday, we can do that. All right, and that goes to this. Yeah, we just take this signal all the way up the bus. And all the way over here with this red signal. Okay, and let's see. Let's grab all of these, right? And put those right there. Oh, base robots. There we go. Forgot. Ghost Placer. Okay, so yeah, you are a -1er. You're a counter, you're our negator. Okay, so we want to take this red wire, feed it into the back of that, because that's the one that is reading items that are put into the sushi setup. This right here is our counter. We want it hooked up to these inserters. We want you guys to read hand contents, but we also want you disabled when that item is less than 0. Water, light oil, and lubricant. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, and then finally we want this green signal, which is our main request, going into the back of this combinator, which is multiplying that by a -1. And we want that going out as a red wire to these inserters as well, because that would be the request times -1 times the amount that we already have out there, just like we've done a million times before. All right, and I want to throw one more combinator out here, and I want to feed the red wire into it and the green wire into it, and I want an each +0 each that goes out to like a green wire out to this pole right here, so we can actually read that balance. Nice little kind of debugging tool. It's just adding those two signals together and keep getting them all on a green signal as opposed to being in the different signals. So we get our total. We're seeing what these inserters see. I'm just thinking, do we want... Why do we have so much water? I'm thinking a lot of different things. First, I'm thinking, why do we have so much water? But, you know, I guess those are the numbers. I'm sure I calculated them from somewhere. It seems like we're using petroleum a lot more, but, you know, hey, whatever. And the second question I have is that going to be enough on this main bus? We might end up doubling that. But if we do, all we can turn this -1 into a -2, and that would basically double the request, and that would put twice as many items actually on the bus. We'll try it at this right now. It'll be really easy to adjust later. All right, so this is good. All right, so let's just double check everything, because it's not like me to mess stuff up. All right. Okay, so all those are hooked into this green wire, which is coming down, and that is limiting our production. So once we get 100 buffered in the chest, we're going to stop producing these guys. These guys are going to pull from these chests whenever that big count of items that we put out here is less than the amount of items we've taken off plus the amount of items that we've requested. All right, that all looks like it is correct. Just making sure no wires are crossed here. Nope, those all look good. All right. That is going to feed out to here, where it's going to come all the way down here and come out there. Petroleum is going to be pulled off here. Water, light oil, okay. And you're looking at lubricant. You're looking at water and petroleum. You are reading the belt contents, right? You are going back up to the production, and you are also counting and going on that green wire, which goes back into this counting system. So that is right. These are all hooked up. Yep. This green wire takes the signal from that constant combinator and goes back up. That looks good. And all of those look good. This all looks good to me. What did I mess up? That is the big question that I have. Okay, let's check this combinator, just to make sure that it is blanked out, and it is. Let's check everything up here. This combinator is good. Yes, it's all blanked out. You guys are reading hand contents. That's one of my big mistakes. You guys are not reading hand contents, but you don't need to. All right, I think that looks good. All we should need to do is put in that belt right there, and that should send off this whole fluid system. Let's see. Got petroleum going out. Is that number going down? 73, 72. Oh, yeah, look at that. All right, that's going. Okay, you guys are going to come down here. Look at that. We're getting input signals on this network now. And that should be kicking off you guys to release some more. And you are. All right, we're only making petroleum right now. And looks like a little bit of water. Nope, just petroleum. Because it's going to take a while for those empty barrels to catch back up. I'm going to let the fluid system run for a little bit, I think, before I hook up the rest of these, because that should eventually stabilize. And will give us a good idea of how the fluids ended up. I'm just waiting for some empty barrels to make their way. Here, we shouldn't have any logic kind of circuity conditions on any of those. They're out trees. Ah, is that one? Thought I saw one. Ah, yeah, there he is right there. All right, we got our first empty barrel. Oh, we got to back up here. That's not good. Come on, robot. Faster. There we go. All right, but that means that we have plenty of petroleum on the system now. Very nice. And that's going to free up the other fluid items that we have to be made. Once we build up this buffer. Okay, that's going to be a while, huh? Let's see. Do we have any speed module 3s? Not here. Let's go grab some of those. See if we can't crank out these barrels just a little bit faster. I know we've got some down here, just doing nothing. Grab like half a stack of those. Yeah, this all needs to be cleaned up. Might do a little streaming over the weekend and just kind of clean some of this stuff up. It's a lot of busy work that I don't want to really necessarily spend an episode on. All right, get to moving there, guy. Like, super fast. All right, I didn't get to check to see if my empty barrels came back. I'm assuming they did. All right, we're getting water and light oil on the line now. And our petroleum is backed up. Fantastic. That's looking good. All right, now I'm hoping that's going to stabilize. I remember back in Impractical Factorio making this into a splitter, an even splitter, so that everybody would get an equal grab at the barrels. I'm hoping it's going to regulate itself over time. I guess we'll see. We just need so little lubricant out on the line that I'm not sure that it's going to be that big of a deal. Once the initial rush of fluids is out there. And yeah, it's also, we are putting everything on a single side of a belt. I don't know if it's not really intentional. There's no real thought to that, but I don't know if it's going to hurt anything. We may do a cheapo lane splitter just to mix things up a bit to keep things interesting, but right now I'm not too worried about it. It was suggested we might be able to force it where the empty barrels, instead of doing this right here, we could do something like, just waiting for a little pause in the belt there. We could do like a direct side load of those empty barrels, so that one side is reserved for the empties and one side is reserved for the regulars. And that works too. I don't know that it matters either way. I don't think this belt is going to be very full at any given point. We don't have any light oil, eh? Why is that? We don't have any heavy oil. Are we just super backed up on petroleum? We're super backed up on petroleum right now because we're no longer creating plastic. Oh, that's something I didn't even think about. All right, well, we're going to have to find something to do with petroleum. Oh, that's funny. I guess one thing we could do with petroleum is wait for all this to... we could start that up, and that would get some petroleum being eaten. All right, our stuff is starting to back up here, which is expected. Now that that's backed up, that's turning this machine off. It is no longer making stuff. We probably don't need the beacons anymore. That was just me being impatient. And this is going to back up a ways. And is it going to back up? What's the worst that could happen if it did back up? It would be a cosmetic issue, because it literally can go all the way down here, all the way down to the factory before it causes a problem. And even it can go back up a little bit, and it's not going to be a thing. We'll keep an eye on it anyway. What was I looking at there? Oh, it's sulfur. Okay, yeah, that can go ahead and be made. All right, well, let's see. Let's just go ahead and turn it on and see how things go. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next episode, where we'll see how this turns out and if there's any modifications that we need to do besides finding something to do with all the petroleum. All right. Thank you for watching. See you next time.